Car seat regulations aren't anything new in many parts of the world, but it is here in our country. February 2nd should have been the date when a new measure on car seats was meant to take effect to keep our children safe in private vehicles. Instead, the law sows confusion.
Last year pa yan no? Kaya I think there was enough time given.
And consumers were outraged about the timing, the extra costs they have to bear amid this recession. The backlash was swift from parents, various groups, and even lawmakers. They were up in arms asking if there were public hearings and was there due diligence. But it was no less than the president himself calling to defer the implementation of this controversial law. The fact remains, so much have slipped through the cracks and many questions still need to be answered. So sit back, relax, and enjoy today's show. I'm Hontiveros. We'll be asking the hard questions for stories that matter to you. Front and center is transport safety for our children. And for this, we say, buckle up, kids. Understanding the controversial Child Safety in Motor Vehicles Act, addressing concerns over confusing rules in implementing the law, and helping you choose the appropriate car seat for your child and how to properly install it. Well, Senator Bongo said President Rodrigo Duterte has thumbed down the implementation of the child car seat law during this pandemic. Front and center now, the principal author of this law, former Senator J.V. Ejercito. Senator J.V., thank you very much for coming on the show. So, no one questions the wisdom of the law. Everybody agrees with it. Kailangan lang masanay tayo as is Pinoy culture. No? Lalo na dati nga, seatbelt nga, hindi natin ma-accept o matanggap noong una. Parang ganun din ang mangyayari sa car seat. Pero, Sen. JV, at least yung issue ng timing, settled na yon, di ba? Kasi the President said, let's set it aside for a while, no?
Yes, Pia. Being the principal sponsor of this measure, I support holding it in abeyance, the implementation, because when this law was being drafted, studied, and eventually passed, there was no such thing as pandemic and COVID-19 back then. And we do understand that it's a crisis situation. It's everybody's really having a hard time. It's a survival mode. So even if I'm the sponsor of this measure, I do support the move to hold it in abeyance until such time that the pandemic is over.
Mm-hmm. Senator JV, what you've been saying about this law and its implementation has a lot to do with common sense. And I think that's what people are looking for, no? Para walang backlash, para walang negative reactions to anything any government official says, no? So, for example, for one, and this is something you pointed out on Twitter, for one, a child car seat is not needed if the child can use an adult seatbelt, correct?
Yes. Yes, correct, Pia. Actually, one of the causes why there was an outrage, probably because of that reckless statement from the LTO director, while he was being interviewed, and he said if the child is too big for the seatbelt, they should get a bigger car. But let me be straight. According to the law, Pia, that the use of the car seat or the child restraint system is dependent on the size, the weight, and the height of the child. No? So
right.
if the child is able already to reach and able to use the adult seatbelt, then naturally common sense dictates that there is no more need for the car seat. No, so it's the size, the weight, and the height of the child.
Yeah, and as you pointed out, Sen. JV, it's here in the law, Section 4, and it's full of common sense. Claro. Yes. Cuentas claras. Okay. So the Senator JV, of course, no one is questioning the wisdom of the law. Take us through the facts, no? The World Health Organization has come up with certain numbers to prove that car seats for children or booster seats for older children do save lives.
Yes, that is correct, Pia. No? According to World Health Organization, that the use of child restraint can lead to at least 60% or even 100%, no? At least 60% reduction in deaths. No, according to studies also, especially with infants and young children, because as you know, Pia, the bones and the body of children and infants is not yet as mature as an adult, no? So it is really imperative to be able to use the child restraint system so that they will be protected. And if I may add, Pia, according to statistics, this is probably what people or the Filipino people do not know, that here in our country, according to Philippine Statistics Authority, um, road crashes and car collisions is the second leading killer of children and infants, next only to drowning. No? And an average of 671 children die every year. No? From 2006 up to 2015, according to the Philippine Statistics Authority, an average of 671 died during that span due to road crashes and collisions. So yun po ang hindi siguro alam ng ating mga kababayan.
All right. Well, Senator JV, I have some questions about specific provisions in the law. For example, Sections 6 and 7. Section 6, safety standards for child restraint systems, and Section 7, prohibition and substandard or expired child restraint systems. Of course, like I was saying earlier, no one questions the wisdom of the law. Everyone agrees with it. But it is in the implementation na nagkakaproblema tayo. And what people are worried about is how the government is going to implement the laws, how it will enforce all these rules. No, because what the last thing we need is substandard car seats, booster seats coming into the country. Is that a main concern for you also?
Yes, Pia, because this the quality of the equipment, no? Of course, may or not save the life of the one who will use it. In the same way, Pia, that motorcycle helmets, no, need to be stamped with the ICC sticker and be passed to the DTI for quality testing. No? And in fact, Pia, just like the motorcycle helmets also, the car seat has a duration. It has an expiry, no? Because the materials become brittle, they become hard through the years. So just like a helmet, meron siyang 5-year, the life is only 5 years from the date of manufacturing. So in the car seats, it's the same way. It's the same thing. Yeah, I think it's a 5-year expiry, or it depends on the manufacturers. It's probably included in the manual. So meron din silang life, shelf life, Pia.
Okay. Last two questions, Sen JV. No? For example, number one, public utility vehicles, hindi pa siya covered nitong batas na ito dahil nga kailangan na pag-aralan pa ng LTO. At the same time, dito sa Section 13 sa IRR, no, it says IRR shall cover among others the following, and it's a long list. But letter D, proper installation and positioning of the child restraint system in the vehicle. Will this require a government agency to install, or we can use our common sense and if you buy a car seat or a booster seat, parang ikaw na mismo mag-install, do it yourself na lang, sundan na lang yung mga videos of proper proper installation.
Yes, you are correct, Pia. No? I have to be honest with you, I was also surprised because that was not included in the law. No? That is only in the IRR, which the OTR drafted and LTO drafted. And according to the explanation of LTO, since the car seat law will be new, it will be a service for them to teach everybody. No, if in case the others have a hard time following the instruction manuals, then they are willing to put up fitting stations. But I had my apprehensions with that, Pia. You all know, it's another layer. It will be prone to temptation. No, so but they assured that they will never charge fees. That it will be voluntary. So it will not be required. It will be voluntary, and they will not. It will be for free. So that is what we requested LTO, so that people will not doubt, no? Because the moment I saw this, no, because this was not part of the law, I already had my apprehensions about it. So it's a good thing that the LTO right now committed that it will be voluntary and likewise free of charge.
At syempre, ang pinaka-importante, kailangan marunong sila mismo mag-install. Baka hindi marunong tapos sila pa yung nagtuturo.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Likewise,
Senator
Pia.
J.V. Ejercito, former Senator J.V. Ejercito. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on the show. The stories that matter are front and center, addressing concerns over mandatory child car seats straight from the lawmaker leading a House probe on the law. And find out which car seat suits your child best. Stay tuned to CNN Philippines for news you can use, news you can trust. We keep the stories that matter front and center. I'm Pia Hontiveros. Welcome back to the program. The Child Safety in Motor Vehicles Act has been a subject of debate in recent days because of confusing rules in implementing it. President Duterte has said he is opposed to enforcing the law at this time, and land transport regulators say they will not apprehend violators while they are educating motorists about the law. Now, the House Committee on Transportation is looking into this law. Front and center is the committee's chairman, Samar 1st District Representative Edgar Mary Sarmiento. Congressman Sarmiento, welcome to the show. Thank you very much for agreeing to do this interview. Well, let's begin with this. You are
Thanks for inviting me.
Your committee will be looking into this law, given well, there are many complaints, no, and observations, thoughts, opinions. Alam mo naman ang mga Pinoy, no, everybody has an opinion on everything. But what is it exactly that the House Committee on Transportation wants to check when it comes to this law?
Pia, thanks for inviting me. The House, first of all, wants to inform everyone that the law 11229 is a very important law. It is compliant to the World Health Organization, the United Nations, sections 44 and 129. However, the way it was rolled out in public doesn't sound nice. No? There was an interview. It all started with an interview from an official of the Land Transportation Office. And on that statement, clearly, there was a backlash from the public. Now, what could have been done properly was to inform the public, first coming up with the thorough information dissemination, what is 11229. And IRR should have been properly followed in close coordination, not only by the Department of Transportation, the Department of Trade and Industry, as well as included the Department of Health, Metro Manila Development Authority. But again, as what you said in your opening statement, Pia, the President said his piece. We are still under pandemic. We are still under the state of calamity. For me, it's not yet the right time to roll out this project. Although you accept that it is important, but again, there's more important thing which you never saw coming, and this is really the pandemic.
Well, Congressman Sarmiento, you are correct. No one really questions the wisdom of this law. Elsewhere, all around the world, this is something that people are very used to. That people, always practice, making sure children are not just seat belted, but that they are in car seats in motor vehicles. So this is nothing new around the world, but it is new here in the Philippines. At the same time, like you said, no, there was that very adverse public reaction to that interview with an LTO official. It didn't really serve any purpose when it comes to informing the public. So when it comes to the timing and implementation, like you say, no, we're in a pandemic. Children are not allowed to go out anyway, and then so many questions about the implementation. What is it that you want to hear from the authorities once they face the House Committee on Transportation?
We just want to address a House resolution was filed for the deferment of the implementation of 11229. Secondly, we just want to make sure one of the House members, to be specific, Congressman Biasan, wanted to see the implementing rules and regulation, if it was thoroughly followed. And lastly, again, to appeal that this is not yet the right time for this law to be rolled out. Again, in terms of economic losses, it's clearly indicated and the minus 9% on GDP. and people are suffering. So again, Pia, true enough, the intention of the law is very important, but we have to consider one thing, and that's a lot of people are really hard up right now.
Kong Edgar, when people read the law, everything is very clear here. No, walang problema. Basta basahin natin mabuti. Everything is very clear. There is no room for misinterpretation. But why is it that there's so much adverse public reaction? Is it the fear of what's going to come out in the IRR? There's so many questions about bakit kailangan gobyerno mag-install ng car seat halimbawa? Ang daming mga tanong na para bang it all boils down to one basic question. Hindi ba pwedeng common sense ang pinaka-basis natin to implement this law?
Tamang sinasabi mo, dapat common sense. Kaya nga ulitin ko, nung una po, na-interview ang isang opisyal ng Land Transportation Office. On that interview, parang mali at ang pag-deliver na mensahe. Doon po ito nagsimula, no, na para bang ikay nakaupo sa gobyerno at nung tinanong ka, ang una mo sagot, bumili ka ng kotse. Para bang, sino ba kami? Kami, binabayaran po ng tao. Binabayaran po ng buhis. That should not be the response coming or an official of government, a public servant to respond that way. Rather than we, public servant, informing the public the importance of the bill, the importance of the law. Sana kung wala lang ang pandemic, I will be towards implementing this law. Kanya lang again, Pia, there is a law. Kaya itong sulat ko, I'm showing it to you, one letter to Assistant Secretary Galvante and Secretary Tugade. This was dated February 1 to remind them to defer the project. We already acted on this. And again, I have a copy as well of the law. Paras tayo. Maliwanag na maliwanag. It's beyond doubt, beyond question. Kaya sayang nga, kanya lang ulitin po natin. We just wanted to review the IRR and we will be appealing. Tinanggap naman and I'm very happy. I even wrote already a letter to the President to complain as well on the MVAC. I'm hoping it will be deferred as well. Another issue na hindi lang itong Child Seat Act.
Well, Congressman Edgar Sarmiento, very interesting. And that's welcome news when you're saying na kung pwede lang kayo na mismo mag-implement ng batas. Thank you very much for your time, Congressman Edgar Mary Sarmiento, the chairman of the House Committee on Transportation. Stories that matter are front and center will help you figure out which car seat suits your child best based on their age, height, and weight. Keep it here on CNN Philippines.
Now, the first model we've got is a seatbelt installation type, which essentially what it does is that it uses the seatbelt of the car to latch itself on securely. This particular car seat is for 7 months old to about 2 years, but then it does evolve with the child that it can be used all the way up to the 11 years old as a booster chair. Now, while car seats differ in structure, material, in look, even color, these particular belt type car seats are essentially the same, wherein you use the seatbelt, like I mentioned earlier, to rather secure it onto the car so that it doesn't pop forward in any unfortunate accidents or whatnot. Now, essentially, stage one, or rather step one, would be to get as much of the seatbelt as possible so that you can squeeze it onto the back and then latch it onto the locks themselves inside the car, like so. The configuration of the belt will of course change as the child gets older. At some point, the seat belt won't no longer be at the back, but it'll be up front, keeping the child secure in the chair. Of course, that depends on how fast your kid grows. In my case, my kids are very tiny, so I can save a lot of money.
Welcome back to Front and Center. We want answers on the stories that matter to you. I'm Pia Hontiveros. Child car seat laws vary from country to country, but they all have one aim: improve child safety in a vehicle. After all, road traffic injuries are the leading cause of child fatalities around the world. Front and Center is Gus Lagman. He is president of the Automobile Association of the Philippines. Mr. Lagman, thank you very much for joining us. So we have this new law which, is going to be put aside for the moment, given what President Duterte has said. What are your thoughts about that, sir?
Well, some people are saying that, is this the right time to do it with the pandemic and everything? But it doesn't matter. I think child safety is important at any time, pandemic or no pandemic, no? So okay lang naman yon. I think we should really take a look at what is best and safe, especially for children. Although there
Okay.
might,
Well, no one really
there are
questions.
some
Yes.
provisions that I think
Go
they
ahead,
should
sir.
review.
The provisions of the law, sir, itself, or the IRR?
Yeah, for example, um, there are I'm not sure if they have provisions for different weights of the children. Kasi when you're below 4 feet 9 inches, there's still another level, another category where you need like a car seat, a child seat with a higher back. There's an intermediate size between uh, a child seat and a regular seat belt. There's an intermediate category where the back is higher than that of the usual child car seat. If the child is 4 feet 8 inches, for example, I think an ordinary seat belt would be okay. I mean, rather than a car seat. That's what I'm saying. I think they need to review, not review it. Well, try it out. Meaning, get somebody, a child of a
Okay.
certain weight and height, and find out whether they look safe when seated on the car seat. Because beyond a certain height, it's probably better to just use the ordinary car seat, the regular car seat. So
Uh-huh.
what I'm
Okay.
saying is,
So either amend the law, sir, or yeah, amend the law, or make sure that it is very clear in the IRR.
well, yeah, it can be the IRR because the IRR is the one that gives the details of the law. So it doesn't have to be a change in the law, but maybe in the IRR. In other words, that's where you give the details of the provisions in the law.
Okay. What else do you think should be amended or changed or tweaked in either the law or should be made clearer in the implementing rules and regulations?
Well, I can't remember what the provision is in the law, but I think they should give, for example, at least a year, maybe even 2 years, for the enforcement of the law. Uh, if they make the announcement today, then they should give the motorists a year or even 2 years before they enforce it and penalize violators. Because you have to, this
Okay. Why,
costs
why
money.
1 year to 2 years?
Well, number one, it costs
Okay.
money, and some car owners may need to kind of save on it before they can buy the proper car seat.
Okay. Final words, Mr. Lagman.
Uh, Definitely, car seat law for children is necessary because it's different for adults. The regular car seat belts would be sufficient for adults, but definitely there should be the law should be different for children and different for infants. Infants, for example, it's the car seat that faces to the rear, you know. As they
Right.
grow up, then it's different. And there's even that booster that they refer to, which means that the back is higher than the usual car seat. So it is necessary to have these laws.
All right. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Mr. Gus Lagman, President of the Automobile Association of the Philippines. Buckle up, kids. It's a new law meant for your safety. Although government will go easy on its implementation, there being a pandemic and all, some parents need to scrounge around for means to pay for car or booster seats. That's the problem. And not only that, whether now or later, questions hound implementation and speculations abound about a windfall of profit for manufacturers and importers. While safety comes first, accountability comes a close second. This is Front and Center. I'm Hontiveros. Thanks for joining us.